Another one, what are your short and long range goals? Or where do you see yourself 5 years from now? You'll have to talk about personal goals as well as business goals. Keep in mind today, companies are looking for balanced individuals who are interested in things other than work. Feel free to talk about these goals. Share with them where you want to be and what you want to accomplish. Now, on the day of the interview itself, there are a lot of things that are going to take place. You schedule the time for the interview as much as possible, again, avoiding Monday and Friday for the reasons we've already discussed. Morning appointments should be scheduled before 11 o'clock, or you're going to run into somebody wanting to rush out to lunch. And incidentally, morning interviews should always be your first choice. Research shows that 70% of all hiring decisions are made before 11 o'clock in the morning. Appointments in the afternoon should be scheduled no later than 1 hour prior to the close of the normal business day. You need to know the exact time and location of the interview. Be punctual. Arrive 5 to 15 minutes early. Don't go in that early. Believe me, arriving too early can be just as irritating to someone as arriving late. Make sure you're there on time. If you're unsure of the location, go very early. Get familiar with where it is. And in that process, you can kind of observe and say, is this the kind of place I want to be involved with? Some of the other things that are going to be noticed will be this: dress, your appearance, your personal etiquette. Obviously, dress appropriately for the interview. If in question, always overdress. Even in the casual kind of environment where we sometimes see people in t-shirts and banks on Friday, don't take the liberty of doing that for the interview. You can always dress down, but you don't want to walk into an interview with a t-shirt on and then have the person there be in a three-piece suit and a tie. So if there's a question, go ahead and overdress a bit. Make sure that you do the obvious things like shine shoes, use a breath mint if you have a bad taste in your mouth. Make sure nobody detects cigarette smoke on you. Just dress in a manner that's very, very professional. Sit very comfortably. Don't lean back, cross your arms, or cross your legs. Just sit straight in the chair. If you can rest your arms in the armrest of the chair, that's fine. Just recognize, again, the person who is looking at you is asking themselves questions about you, the person. In this very first encounter, make sure that you have a firm handshake, good eye contact. Even if that's not your natural style, you need to do it in this interview process. Again, what we're talking about here is not being phony or superficial, but it's recognizing the principles that people respond to. And trust me, you have to come across with enthusiasm, boldness, and energy. If you tend to speak softly, you might want to practice speaking with more energy so that you come across with the kind of enthusiasm that people are looking for. Some other kinds of questions that you may be asked are, describe an ideal working environment. Or do you prefer working alone or as part of a team? What does a typical weekend consist of for you? These are the kind of open-ended questions that you need to be prepared to respond to in a well-conducted interview. Toward the end of an interview that is properly conducted, you may be asked, do you have any questions? Now, it's very tempting, especially if the interviewer has done a good job, where he's pretty well answered everything that you have as questions. You might be tempted to say, gee, I don't think so. I think you've covered everything. Well, what you want, though, is to have a couple of questions to ask no matter what. Sometimes the questions you ask are more important than your responses to questions you may have been asked. So you want to have some questions to ask them. In today's marketplace, you want to make sure you've got 4 or 5 questions to ask if given the opportunity. Now, trust me on this. People who ask questions appear brighter, more interested, and more knowledgeable. Here's some that you might want to have prepared. What would be a typical day's assignment? Are there any travel requirements? What's a typical career path in this position? What type of training is available? Who would I report to in this position? Where do you see this company 5 years from now? What's this company's mission statement? What are the company's goals? What qualities are you looking for in the right person for this position? Now, that's just a brief overview of some of the questions you might want to have at the tip of your tongue. Recently, I worked with a young gentleman who got a position as department head at one of the major hospitals. There were 32 candidates for the position, and probably most of them had better credentials than this particular gentleman. However, he got the position and asked them afterward why he was given the opportunity. They told him it was because of the questions he asked in the interview. What he asked were questions just like the ones we've covered here, and those made the difference in that particular situation. At the end of the interview, there needs to be a clear next step. Don't let the interview just say, "We'll let you know." You ask what the next steps are in the process and what the time frame for making a decision is. Restate that you are very interested in the position, of course assuming that you really are, and if he or she says that they'll make a decision by Thursday, ask if it would be okay if you called on Wednesday. Keep in mind that by giving your valuable time, you've earned the right to inquire and be informed as to the progress and final decisions made. Write a thank you note on the same day as the interview, thanking the interviewer for the time spent together. Reaffirm your interest in the position and state that you will be calling on Wednesday. Keep in mind you want to be in the driver's seat at each step of this process. This job search has been tested and confirmed hundreds of times with our clients over the years. It works in times of high unemployment or times with low unemployment. It will separate you from 97% of the other job seekers out there and allow you to bypass people with better credentials, more experience, and tighter connections. It puts you at the top of the pack as a viable candidate for the best positions available. This process has consistently provided people with multiple job offers. Recently, a gentleman came in for advice on his job search. He'd been a plant manager for his entire working career. Then, in a company reorganization, he was let go with little fanfare. After 7 months of unemployment and no interviews, he was not only discouraged, but had begun to panic. We reviewed this job search method together and identified a correct plan of actions. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived stating, "I'm sure it's no surprise to you, but this method really works. With only 12 targeted companies and having followed this job search carefully, I'm amazed at the results. In all 12 cases, my phone call was taken by either the CEO or the Human Resources Director. Incidentally, those 12 contacts led to 4 interviews and 2 solid job offers." 1 week later, we received another letter stating that he was writing from his new office and was thrilled to be in a position with more responsibility and compensation than ever before. It is thrilling to have people call and say, "I've got 2 or 3 job offers. Now what should I do?" Obviously, that's exactly what we want. Then you really can decide what best fits your personal and career goals. Go forward with boldness, enthusiasm, and confidence that can come only from having that clear sense of direction and focus.